That's a great question. So when we look at first what's going on in the park areas that we're talking about right there, and the creation of Central Park has been a great resource to our community. However, there are many neighborhood stresses that Central Park has created. You have homeowners that have lived in their neighborhood for 15, 20 years and not expected to move next to a concert arena. That it feels like every single night you have noise, you have complaints, and while one or two festivals are phenomenal, when you start having it on a regular basis, there's not a whole lot of predictability there. And you have a number of residents that are feeling the stresses of those park projects. We need to ensure that we've paid off much of the debt of those city park projects. Where I see the next area of opportunity is what's the future of Olin Park. I see community leaders who are talking about Olin as a potential gateway to our community, as we see what's the exciting things that are going on with Alliant Energy Center, where we see what it could be to connect Olin to our downtown and the connections throughout our isthmus. I'm very excited what could be the future of Olin Park. I'm excited that the City Council passed, under the mayor's support, new projects and planning for that area of the city. However, it's going to take additional community engagement. It's going to take a lot of participation, because the same way that it took quite a bit of time to plan out for Central Park, we still need to do that once again over in Olin.
Well, I doubt that any neighborhood of the city is going to see anything in the near future as massive as what happened at Central Park. We were fortunate to get an earmarked federal funds for that, and given the present condition of the Congress, which can't seem to keep open various federal agencies, I don't see it happening in the near future. But coming back down to earth, I also want to remind you, we did some costly improvements at one West Side and one East Side Park this last year, and that was the splash pads we put in at Rindall and at Elfer. Probably the most immediate need on a community basis is Penn Park. The park shelter at Penn Park is inadequate. It resembles a Soviet-style bunker and does not provide adequate services for people who heavily use this neighborhood park. Alderman Resnick mentioned Olin Turville, and the planning has to start here, but we are dependent upon the county. And let me just explain. So we're all on the same page. Please recall that the Alliant Energy Center is one understudy now by the county, because it's what's considered 4 generations old for those kinds of facilities. And keep in mind, it's not in the city of Madison. It's in the town of Madison and not scheduled to come into the city until the year 2023, if I remember correctly. Though many of us are working diligently trying to persuade town officials to advance that date, not so much for the Alliant Energy Center, but for the well-being of having a coherent social and economic plan for the South Side. We can have some ideas. We can work on how to take this great lakeshore property and develop it for greater recreational use. But it's going to be very hard to do so long as we're waiting to see what the county does with the Alliant Energy Center. So I would suggest, yes, we go along with the planning process, but let's not over-anticipate what'll happen. On another front, we've got some issues at Warner Park. There's neighborhood groups. You almost think that Warner was a downtown neighborhood. There's one faction, Wild Warner, that wants nothing done there. There's another group that wants to put a swimming pool in. There's another group who wants to keep it relatively stable as it is, but maybe have a youth-oriented center at the south end of the park. all I can say is stay tuned, but that is one of the areas of focus, particularly because it is surrounded by so many critical neighborhoods like Brentwood, Vera Court, Packers Northport, Kennedy Heights, and the Woodlands.
I would only add here, this is why collaboration is so important. When we talk about the future planning of many of these parcels, we can start today if we're really working on collaborative energy, if we're treating everybody with respect, if we're having civil conversations going back and forth between the City of Madison and the county executive on these issues of things like Alliant Energy. You take a look at what we could have in the conversations with the town of Madison. These conversations don't happen overnight, but they only happen when you have someone who's truly committed to collaboration, listening, and treating everybody with respect.
Excuse me, Alderman Resnick, if you're going to lead the city, you've got to know what happened and what is happening. The City of Madison worked very collaboratively with the county, and we not only provided cash, which nobody else did, no other municipality, particularly the town of Madison where the facility is located, but we provided 2 staff people to staff their committee. Then what happened is the county board and the county executive got into a fight. They're the ones who are quarreling. And then when the county board prevailed in the debate, the county executive pulled everything off the table and took his marbles and went home. Now, I'm not getting into that battle. You can. But whenever they get their house in order, we're available.